We now have Ed Johnson and Barney Gallagher. And first of all, you were at Haverhill High School as a teacher at one time, approximately the time that Tom was there.
Yeah, we were working together there.
Right, right.
In school and out of school later on.
Now you're an English teacher and
public speaking.
Public speaking. Do they have public speaking there anymore?
Well, unfortunately, I heard recently that they're phasing it out, or they will phase it out, which I think is very unfortunate.
I agree.
Yeah, I think when you think of the thousands of young people who have benefited from a speech course in high school.
Right.
So I'm hoping that they will perhaps rethink the thing and put it back in again.
Yes, I agree.
Because it is a tradition over, I would say, over 70 years at Haverhill High. There's been a speech course there.
Right. How did you meet Tom?
He was a student of mine, and
It was in the public speaking
in the
course,
public
as a matter
speaking
of fact.
course, yeah. And right away I knew I was in trouble when this kid walked in, but no, you took 2 years of public speaking, I believe. The second year you did the mime,
Yes.
and I foolishly thought I might teach the class mime, and I knew nothing about mime, but I started a textbook approach to it.
Yeah.
And so I called on Tom first, I believe. He may have volunteered. He got up and he was Marcel Marceau. And I said, never again will I touch mine. And I think the first assignment I gave him was to be on a crowded subway, hanging onto the strap and reading a newspaper, something like that. And he did it so beautifully, I didn't want to say anything more about mime ever. But he was very talented in high school.
I have to tell you though, when I was in Haverhill High and I heard that one of the teachers also worked at the local radio station at WHAV, that was my mission, to meet this person, because I wanted to be in radio. I mean, that was it. The idea that I ever ended up in television is mostly an accident. But you know, I was in then Mr. Johnson's class. I didn't call you Ed until we worked together, and even then it was hard. It would be, you know, we'd be doing the morning show at HAV together when the regular newsman Ralph Hall was on vacation. Now with the news, here's Ed Johnson, Mr.
Well, you may have had other names for me too.
Yeah, well, yeah, about round report card time.
Right.
Yeah. You had like the itchiest spine of any human being. Ed would talk to you, you'd get in a corner, and he'd just be itching his spine, holding his cheeseburger. I said, this is just a very bizarre thing to be looking at.
I could ask you the same question, Barney. How did you meet Tom?
Well, it was the same thing through WHAV and the Gazette. The Gazette owned WHAV. We wrote the news at the Gazette office and brought it over, and either Ed or Tom would read it, whoever was on the early morning, and substantially it was the same news through the rest of the day, except we would add stuff. We were running back and forth between the Gazette and the radio station. Then I got Tom recruited into some troublemaking.
Yes.
Yeah, we were the colonial outcasts. We
Right.
went down and chased the
City council meeting.
yeah, we had the city council meeting. We're the colonial council.
Right.
And everybody on the present council got mad at us
Yes.
because we were criticizing the condition of the city.
I know. Yeah. Imagine a politician without a sense of humor. Who knew?
No, no.
Then we went down and we chased the salt and stalls out of the Buttonwoods down there because one of the salt and stalls stayed loyal to the English. And
Right, that's
says,
right.
The history book says some ruffians came down from West Parish,
Right.
and he was the leader of the pack.
Did you do any cover stories on Tom throughout the
Cover
years?
up.
But yeah, that's more like it. By the way, the next check will be coming next week.
Do you folks keep in contact with Tom or vice versa?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Barney has been really wonderful about sort of providing us with by us I mean the family, of a press clipping chronicle of sort of my career. I mean, you've really...
Yeah, I try to keep track of it. Sometimes it's pretty hard, but I do.
I know.
Tom, how was it to work with Ed Johnson and vice versa? How was it to work with Tom?
He's the guy that got me into radio. I mean,
He gives me too much credit.
No, I don't. No, I don't. He introduced me to the general manager of WHAV when I was still a student in his class. But Ed Setlin was, you know, he took a chance on me and was sort of like, I think he took like a paternal interest in me. And he, you know, it was great. I spent a number of years at HAV, and some of my favorite times were working with Ed.
We had a lot of fun.
We did. We really
Yeah,
did have a
really.
lot of fun.
And to use one of Tom's line, he'd come in bright-eyed and bushy till all of 5 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't speak until about 10.
Yeah, right.
But he was wide awake and going, and that's a great deal for a kid, what, 16?
Oh, 16, 17.
To be
yeah.
the morning man
Yeah.
on a radio station.
Oh, it's the best.
It's the lifeblood of the station, really.
Right.
So
What made you decide to leave the radio station?
I got on his back as well.
You know what? And actually, it's really true. And it was very comfortable. I mean, I was there for about, what, 4 or 5 years?
Yeah,
I
at
think.
least, yeah.
And you get complacent. And Ed and others, and Barney probably gave me a kick a couple times too. And you know, people just say, you try something else or see where you can take this.
Go to a larger market.
Yeah. 'Cause
And he did.
yeah.
Sure did.
Well, and you know, as my parents can tell you, there were a number of years where, you know, I just looked like a rudderless ship. I mean, I didn't really have. I mean, it only looks in hindsight like it was a clear path or trajectory, but there were a lot of times where I, you know.
Well, you went to Haverhill High School and you went to Northern Essex.
Only
there
for a while. I only went to Northern Essex because Ed Setlin threatened to fire me if I didn't go to college. And I had planned to go to Emerson College and get a degree and get into broadcasting. And having the radio job when I was while I was still in high school made me decide to stay in radio, because ultimately, my rationale at the time was, if I'm going to college to end up in radio, but I'm in radio already, maybe it'd be smarter to just stay here. Now, there are some aspects of not going to college that I regret missing. But having said that, I wouldn't trade where I am now for, you know, I wouldn't go back and change anything, because you make one change and everything else changes. So I think it's all turned out.